I've taken the classic 5 grams of creatine a day for over a decade. And if I'm being honest, I could never tell if it was doing anything or not. There was no strength increase I could clearly measure and no obvious mental benefit I could feel. But it's cheap, it's safe, it's backed by a ton of research, and a lot of other athletes are taking it. And I always wondered, what if I'm one of the non-responders to creatine? Because studies estimate that up to 30% of people have no real change in stored creatine or performance. And recently, a few new studies came out that got me thinking that maybe the issue might be the dose. So I decided to test this out. I went from 5 grams to 20 grams a day to see if a higher dose would have any impact. I wasn't expecting much, but by week 4, I did notice something new. And in this video, I want to walk you through what the latest research says about creatine and why some people might not respond, how I structured my new creatine protocol, what I personally experienced both mentally and physically, and whether taking 4 times the standard dose is actually worth it. So let's get into it. So why should you care about creatine in the first place? Well, it's one of the most studied supplements out there. There's a large body of evidence showing it can improve your performance. Creatine works by helping your body regenerate ATP, which is the primary energy source for high-intensity activity like lifting weights or sprinting. And the idea behind supplementing is that if more creatine is stored in your muscles, it means more available energy. You're able to push a little bit harder, get 1 or 2 more reps, hit that like button quicker, and get more progress over time. It's also considered very safe. Creatine has been studied in athletes, older adults, and even kids. It's one of the few supplements that almost everyone agrees is worth trying. But there's a side of creatine that's rarely talked about. Research shows that about 5% of creatine is stored in your brain, where it plays a role in cognitive function, mood regulation, and resilience under stress. Studies have found that higher creatine levels in the brain are associated with better short-term memory, improved reaction time, and less mental fatigue, especially in people who are sleep deprived, on a plant-based diet, or under high stress. And here's something most people don't know. The brain doesn't saturate with creatine as efficiently as muscle tissue. For some people, the standard 5-gram dose might not be enough to see noticeable effects on cognition, so I wanted to see if I'm one of those people who would benefit from a higher dose. So I ran the experiment. I didn't want to jump straight to 20 grams a day. Instead, I gradually increased the dose over 3 weeks to give my body time to adapt and minimize side effects, because some people do report bloating or mild discomfort with digestion when increasing creatine too fast, especially if you're not well hydrated. So to minimize the risk of issues, I also increased my water intake to above 4 liters per day as I followed the ramp-up protocol. Week 1, I doubled my intake to 10 grams per day, split into 2 5-gram doses. Week 2, I bumped it up to 15 grams, split into 2 doses. And week 3, I went to the full 20 grams, 10 grams at breakfast, and 10 with dinner. Taking creatine with meals makes it easier to remember and also further helps minimize any stomach issues. And I've been doing 20 grams daily now for about 2 months. And there are a few reasons I wanted to take this experiment seriously. First, I wanted to see if I was leaving any gains on the table. After almost 15 years of lifting weights consistently and pushing myself, I've hit a point of diminishing returns. It can take months to hit a personal best in an exercise, and at this stage, every extra rep matters. The second reason was a little more personal. Both sides of my family have a history of Alzheimer's. A few years ago, I did a DNA test and found out that I also carry 1 copy of the APOE4 gene, which is associated with an increased risk. And since then, I've been a lot more intentional about staying up to date with research on brain health and cognition. And creatine is one of the supplements that's being studied for that. Actually, just recently, I saw a study of people with Alzheimer's who had improvements in memory and brain creatine saturation after taking 20 grams a day. Even if the research is still early, it's worth paying attention to. I'm not saying creatine prevents cognitive decline, but if there's even a small chance it can help support brain function long term, that's a reason enough for me to take a closer look, because I saw firsthand what Alzheimer's did to my grandparents. And the final reason came down to having our second daughter a little over a month ago. If you ever raised a newborn, you know it gets very chaotic. When our first daughter was born, sleep deprivation wrecked me. I felt like I was in survival mode every day. With high fatigue and poor recovery, I was practically deloading for the entire first 2 months. Even 2 sets per exercise felt brutal. This time with our second, I wanted to see if this could make any difference, especially the research showing it can help reduce mental fatigue and improve function under sleep deprivation. And it's a good real-life A/B test because my schedule is about the same. I lift 4 times per week for about an hour, I walk 8 to 10,000 steps per day, the diet is very healthy, I get about 180 grams of protein a day, workload and number of coaching clients is about the same, by the way for coaching, details are in the description. So bottom line, I have similar conditions as before, so I can see if this change actually does anything. And if increasing creatine helped me stay a bit more productive while running on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, it's worth trying out. So after all of this, did 20 grams of creatine actually do anything? Well, in the first week, nothing major changed. But by the end of week 2, when I was doing 15 grams a day, I started to notice some small changes, and it was related to focus. I was feeling a little bit sharper in the afternoon. Tasks that normally felt mentally heavy, like coaching calls and deep work, felt a bit easier. And I've always been skeptical of feeling supplements, especially things like creatine, where the benefits are supposed to be very subtle and long-term. But this didn't feel like placebo. Also doesn't feel the same as being caffeinated. It's when I'm at 15 to 20 grams of creatine a day, I'm just a bit less mentally drained at the end of the day. And that's the first thing that really stood out, because in the gym, I wasn't seeing any big jumps. I did have a few really good workouts after a month of 20 grams per day despite poor sleep, but honestly it's hard to say whether or not that was from increasing the creatine, or was it just doing less volume for each muscle group so I could recover better? Placebo or not, as long as I got a few more reps and workouts are better, I'm happy with that. So after more than a decade of taking creatine and never noticing anything, this was the first time it actually felt like something was happening, and really made me wonder if maybe I was underdosing all those years, or was it now the combination of high stress, less sleep, and the increased dose that finally made the difference? I can't say for sure, but I can tell you that there is a difference, and for me that makes the experiment worth it. So should you try a higher dose? Well, that's a question only you can answer. If the experiment inspired you and you're thinking about trying it out, you don't have any related medical issues, I think it's smart to do so strategically. Follow a protocol like I did, ramp up slowly, split the dose, and make sure you're well hydrated. Listen to your body closely and track your progress. Maybe you'll notice a lot more difference than I have, maybe you don't notice much at all. It's difficult to tell, and if nothing improves, you can always go back to 5 grams a day. With this recent experience, I think I'll keep running 20 grams a day while we're getting to a more stable routine with the kids, and then see how it goes. If I run into any issues, I'll go down to 15 or 10 grams. Time will tell. So far, I didn't have any bloating or excess water retention or any other problems. The only downside is going to the bathroom a bit more often with the increased water intake. So the experience overall has been positive, and that's why I wanted to share with you. Because maybe you're in a similar situation like I am with higher stress and poor sleep, and this could make a difference. And by the way, if you're struggling with seeing progress in the gym even though you're training hard, watch this video next. I break down why so many guys are stuck looking average after years of lifting. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.